everybody, this is asieloshunyeyeo, and I'm having a tea time with the Iyawo Ona. So let me tell you a small little introduction. We're having tea, as I said, and Iyawo is my the newest godchild that I have crowned. He's ordained to a legua. This is an interview with him from his perspective as an Iyawo in modern days. And obviously he's sitting to my left, and you guys can only probably see his shoulder. So there's his teacup. And yeah, so we're just going to be asking certain questions and certain things to once again come and bring some light to you guys who are coming into the religion, and what it means to come into the religion in more modern times and some of the things that is required of you, but also just so we get his personal insight on things. So welcome on to the video, Iyawo. How are you today?
Thank you, Padrino. Bendición.
Oh, Lord, okay, so tell us about yourself. Give us your name and your Ocha name. And
Sure. My name is Ricardo, and my Ocha name is godson, which translates to the dancing heart. And I was initiated as a priest of Elegua, and I am currently an Iyawo.
And what is an Iyawo to you?
What is an Iyawo to me? An Iyawo is someone who is going on a journey, who's actually starting on their journey. A lot of people maybe correlate Gariocha itself as the start, but perhaps maybe it feels a little bit more like it's during the Iyawo process. You're starting to discover yourself and integrate these new energies in that time. And in this religion, we, as I've learned from Padrino, we do something called a bo, which is sacrifice. In order to receive, we must give. This is known in every religious tradition, and in ours it's always about sacrifice. And the year of the Iyawo is really, to me, what I've discovered so far is that. It's definitely that.
The year of sacrifice, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a year in which you have to let go of a lot of things that are normally taken for granted, like looking in the mirror, cutting your hair, wearing colognes and things like that, that for an adult is very common thing to do on a regular basis. And then during this year you omit certain things in order to allow and give more of your time to spiritual things. Alright, so Iyawo, so how do you feel being an Iyawo in this modern world where we are at this moment?
The feeling is somewhat cliche. It's a little dualistic. One side of it's uncomfortable because an Iyawo, when I go out through my day-to-day, sometimes, and that's just me, maybe someone else will feel different, but you kind of stick out a little bit. You're wearing all white, and you have to observe certain taboos and things like that. So you're not a part of the crowd in that sense, for the lack of a better way of putting it. But on the other side of it, it's actually at times it can feel very satisfactory, and that satisfaction is knowing that in those moments you just understand that you're part of something special that, interestingly enough, is separating you from other people in that sense. So it's hard to give it a one-word answer in one way. It's kind of two things mixed up throughout the experience. So.
Okay, yeah. So being an Iyawo definitely makes you be like a sore thumb in the crowd when, especially, it's also honestly living in this country, and specifically here in the United States, where there is a lot of Lukumi influence, but there's also a lot of lack of knowledge in certain things. In other places like Cuba, seeing an Iyawo walk down the street is not as dramatic to the eye as it is over here when you see someone fully covered from head to toe, wearing so many things, and people have questions at certain points, and some people may approach you at certain points. Have you ever been approached by anybody and asked you anything like?
Yes, I've had somebody ask me why I was wearing all white. I've had other people, as a matter of fact, most of the times I've been approached, I think I've been approached a total of 4 or 5 times. Most of the other times were from other people that recognize the religion and actually sent blessings. Like, was very,
so
it was
was
nice.
positive.
Very positive.
Positive.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so tell us, why did you initiate? What made you want to initiate into this religion?
Okay, well, a couple of things. When I was young, when I was a kid, I always felt the calling to a spiritual calling, or to do spiritual things. But I was a little different. I would play outside in our backyard, and I would play with the rocks, and I used to think that, like, unicorns and fairies were real, and elves and things like that, and whatever. And I was very drawn to those kinds of elements, science fiction, fantasy movies, and all of that kind of stuff, and whatever. And, so it's just interesting. I've always felt, some kind of, anything that just, the reason I'm saying that is because I was attracted to anything that wasn't typical of the norm, whereas most popular contemporary traditions, religious traditions, it's those types of things, it's just, that's what's normal. I was a little different. And I think the other reason, too, is because of a spiritual calling that I felt that I had, an awakening, if you will, about 8 years ago. And, it was definitely, without going into details, it was a very intense manifestation of Orishas just popping up through synchronicities and omens and a lot of things I couldn't explain. I mean, most people go through that every day. They think of somebody they call. Well, let's think of that type of experience, but like expanded times 100, and so it got to the point where I had to seek out to find out why I was going through what I was going through, and I got my answers.
Okay. Yeah, different people have different callings at different points in their life. Some people, so based on what you said, the only thing I want to say is, like, I believe in elves and all that stuff. I think they're in the astral. They might not be in the physical all the time, but at least in the astral, definitely they exist. So I'm sure that they somehow have communicated with you at some point.
They may have, who knows.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, let me say this, I think that, it's just, any child, especially at a very, very young age, they're going to have a very active imagination. I was explaining that because I think in a way I was correlating just the idea of, I was into things that were just not part of the norm, and like I was explaining, most religions, stuff like that, which I like too. I like all religions. I feel like a very universal person when it comes to my spiritual practice, but I did like things that just was like where someone else would say, oh, that's stupid, or that's, that type of thing. I wasn't like that. I was like, oh, this is cool, whatever. And for me, Ocha is something that definitely has a very significant mystical component to it, and that's what really drew me in. Yeah.
All right.
So, and yes, we do have dwarves and fairies and
whatever plane they might be.
Whatever plane they might be in.
That they're in, All right, Iyawo. So
yeah.
tell us, what do you like the most about the religion? What would you say?
What I like the most about the religion is the Orisha coming into our presence. When Orisha comes alive in our daily life. As I mentioned before, I'm more drawn to things that are more mystical, things that cannot be explained in general. So that part of it, when it does happen, it's a very interesting experience. It's not of the norm, it's not of the everyday. The other thing that I would say is also in the music. Anything and everything that is musical about Orisha, whether it's the singing, whether it's the dancing, the drumming, which, by the way, is a perfect place to, experience them coming to life, which it does happen a lot in our tradition. So, and also the wisdom that it imparts, the knowledge. At this point for me, prior to Orisha, well, let's say this, prior to Orisha, to me, a tree was just a tree, a bush was just a bush, water was just water. Now it's become something way more profound than just a tree or a bush or water or whatever. So that kind of knowledge and understanding the nature itself and the ebb and flow of life.
How the Orishas manifest.
How they manifest, and
In your first point that you just made, how they interact with daily life, you also referring specifically just to like omens, or you're also referring to like dispossession, or every form?
Every form. What I've experienced in this tradition is, we will always have Orisha around us. Especially in a lot of our rituals and things like that. And in some of our rituals, it may feel a bit, the experience will feel a bit where things are still. Like, for example, when we are doing our divination and we're casted, or if we're just doing a basic ritual, giving some type of what we call an adimu, some fruits or something like that. But what I'm talking about is kind of where we step away from that, and you're out in day-to-day life, you're at work, you're doing your laundry at the laundromat, or you just happen to go by, the beach or the river, whatever, and you start to notice a lot of the Orisha symbolism manifesting in omens. You start to notice where people may come up to you out of nowhere, maybe wearing their colors, and at that point in time bless you or impart something important to you, might have an important purpose. There's just a lot of things that come with that and everything. And yes, of course, in possession, when they just start to really come alive in that way, when they are integrating their energies with the priest and all of that, it just becomes very vibrant. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so, and now tell us, what do you consider your least favorite thing about the religion?
So my least favorite thing about the religion, I would say, is elekes would be probably.
By that you mean wearing them, like wearing a
yes, yes. Let me clarify. I like wearing no more than one at a time. When I have to wear a whole bunch, it just feels too heavy on me. That's me personally, because not everybody feels that way. It's just that's how I am. I've never been in general. I've never been one throughout my life to wear too much accessories or accessorize when I would get dressed or whatever, and stuff. So that probably has a lot to do with it. And the other thing is, it was interesting because I came into the tradition, with a lot of an Eastern influence in my background, and I was jumping from vegetarian and vegan and things like that. So animal sacrifice was not my favorite, but it's not something that, really turns me off or turns me away. It's just one of those things that it's there. And stuff like that. So, to answer that question, yeah. But at the end of the day, it has its importance, it has its function, it has its benefits, and that's all I can say about that.
Okay. Well, so let me expand a little bit on that. So, based on your answers, like elekes wise, for example, elekes are definitely really nice. I myself only like to wear one or two for the most part, not 5 or more. I do have to say that elekes have regained their natural or their more traditional length, which is from the back of the neck to the belly button, whereas most people in Cuba wear them up to the chest area or so because of lack of beads. That's one. And then 2, here we also have a lot more of nicer beads and fire polish and stone beads and things like that. So the elekes can get heavier depending how they're made. Also, one thing that I love wearing elekes, but just 1 or 2 at a time. But my only pet peeve with elekes is them prickling the back, or like they're catching your hairs in the back, and then they pull it and whatnot. And that's the only thing that I've always had an issue with.
Actually, you know what? I just thought of something. Maybe we could show the audience our elekes, like explaining some of the differences that we do.
Okay, so you have some elekes here to show us.
Yes, so these are my elekes that were made by
so these are just like more traditional length, which is from the back of the neck towards your belly button. The beads are, in most of them, the beads are also fire polish, and you can, so automatically this adds extra weight. And then if you're wearing them for longer periods of time, it can definitely be a little uncomfortable at some points with the neck or with them getting in the way or things, so having to tuck them away. But my only thing is mainly how cold the beads can get sometimes, and then just the hairs in the back of your neck getting cut and pulled by the beads, you know? So, alright, so what advice would you give to someone coming into the religion?
So the advice I would give is to make sure, if this is something that you are going to get into, that you read up on it first, gain some familiarity with it, and also to be very observant about choosing, careful and observant, and do your research when you're choosing your home, your Ile, the house, your godparents. Check how you feel with your connection to your godparents. There has to be a connection between you and your godparents. It's extremely important. As someone once told me, they said, if you don't see yourself sitting down and having dinner with your godparents when you're like 80 years old, then, that's a good way of telling. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, it's always good to get to know people. There's a lot of times that people rush with Orisha things. People want to rush to Cuba. People want to get things done quickly for different reasons. And a lot of times you run into people that after they've been crowned and everything, then they realize that they maybe don't like the godparent as a person too much. Or maybe they don't like the house or the views, or they're being rejected afterwards. So there always has to be the time and the energy put into a friendship in order to move forward with nicer energy between everybody.
And I definitely have to say something real quick. When I was to draw from an actual experience in my own, when I was looking for a house, I was actually watching on YouTube, and I was observing in that way. And it's interesting because, watching my godfather on his YouTube videos, and, you're doing, the things that you normally talk about, I instantaneously knew, I said, this is definitely has to be my godfather. There's so many connections there, and there's a lot of like-minded philosophies, and as you can see from all the books and everything, and it's so interesting because I never would have thought at that time that I would be sitting here
in a video.
I said, so it's interesting.
Well, the world just turns and turns.
It does.
The world turns all around.
That's the world turns.
Alright, so where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, Iyawo?
I see myself, religiously speaking, definitely imparting my wisdom from that I gained from all my experiences to people, all of my spiritual wisdom. I enjoy that. I enjoy helping people make good decisions that will help them achieve really good results, whatever that might be. In general, that's just how I am. So, in that, I definitely see myself. Anything outside of that, I guess we'll see.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, Iyawo does personal training and life coaching and spiritual cleansings and things like Reiki, and he's very into fitness and health and dieting. So if you're someone that at any point wants to gain some muscle, lose some weight, get in better shape, get a good eating, a dietary plan for whatever your circumstances might be, definitely Iyawo here is someone that you can contact at any point, and I'm going to include his information, email, and social medias and things, so you guys can go ahead and message him directly. You can't see him right now because he's out of the frame, again, because of his year in white, but you can find pictures of him and all that other stuff, all his other information. and you'll be able to contact him directly in case that you want to do any type of health related things with your fitness, with your body, with your personal goals. Okay, so do you want to tell us a little bit about your father? How do you feel about your crown? What how do you feel about the orisha that sits upon your head?
How do I feel about the orisha that sits? Wow, that's a loaded question. Has anybody ever seen the movie Deadpool?
Okay. I'm sure they have.
Okay, well, that's exactly how he is. Except, imagine instead of being a hack and slash guy in a tight suit with two swords, he's more of a magician. So, no. But in all respect to my crown and who sits on my crown, and I meant that in every positive sense, he's like that in the positive sense of being funny, being very witty, and being very abrupt and unexpected. He can, you never know when he pops out, and so yeah, I feel that. I think that in my experience, I could say that one of the things that I like to associate Iyawo with. A lot of people will say that Iyawo is a god of mischief, right, or the trickster god and all of that. Whereas every orisha has some kind of title, or the orisha of the crossroads. I would say that Iyawo is also a god of knowledge. He's a god of wisdom, because a lot of him functioning the way he does, as I've learned about him, at the crossroads requires knowledge and wisdom, and to be able to have an understanding of something based on life experiences after life experience after life experience, and to impart that to someone and know which is the right path to take, that to me feels a lot like someone who's very wise. And so I feel that when Iyawo has this childlike attitude, and my path is very, very childlike. He makes faces, and he steals goats from ceremonies. He does all kinds of things, but I think that at the end of the day, that's just an expression of how much love that he has, and that's how he likes to, kind of express himself. Because, at the end of the day, for him to be having all this knowledge and to be serious all the time, I think would just be too boring. I kind of, this is as best as I can understand it from a human mind, It would be kind of too boring, So it'd be nice to kind of shake things up and, and all of that.
Well, he's definitely a shaker. He's definitely a shaker.
Yeah, he's very interesting. Yes, he is.
Alright, so, as an Iyawo, going back to, once again, because I'm kind of deviating sometimes, but as an Iyawo, for example, what have you found to be the hardest so far in this year?
Definitely maintaining my majority of the standard taboos, whether it was not looking in the mirror, or staying in white. And so a lot of times I'd have to go to work, and then at work, then I'd have to remember to change right away. Sometimes I didn't have access to change right away, and I'm trying to get home as soon as I could without without feeling so down about it, and stuff like that. And just a lot of the stand. Like, there are many times, I definitely have to say, many times I really want to sit at a table. Mm-hmm. I am just trying
ready to sit at the table. Yeah. So I'm gonna
or even a restaurant.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna sit down and make a whole video on the expectations of an Iyawo and what the person has to go through that year until the abometa is done, and then after, and all of that, so we can go deeper into that particular topic. But it's always nice to hear from someone who's living it in the present time and what they're finding. Work tends to be kind of like the hardest thing also for Yawoses to deal with, because certain places require you to have a uniform, or dress a certain way and whatnot. So some places are more lenient for you to have your head wrapped or be fully in white, while other places are a little bit harder based on whatever the job requirements are. But I really am going to sit down and make a full video on that, and then just fully talk about the year in white and what the person's expected, and you know, there's always like loopholes and things that have to happen that can also be influenced by the person's edad and what comes out for them. So, but yeah. So yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for answering the questions. You guys, once again, Iyawo does a lot of things with health. He's a personal trainer. He can help you lose weight. He can help you get in shape. He can help you with many of those things. He can give you dietary plans and things along those lines. I'm going to post up his information. If you guys have any questions at all, you can message him directly. Please go ahead and make sure you guys click on the other videos to look. Remember also that you can send me a message for tarot readings, your lagoon readings, and artwork and pieces and beadwork and all that other fun stuff, because that's what I enjoy and what I love to do. So also remember to check out the Astral Winds, which is my personal store, and the page it's on Facebook and on Instagram under asieloshunyeyeo, and I will post that there too. But either way, you guys, thank you all so much for watching. We will be working on other materials to put out, and I will continuously to you know, make some new videos and new things and find some interesting topics to talk to all of you about. So thank you, Iyawo, so much for your time and your energy and your ache in this video. And I will see you all in one of the next videos. Ache, 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 do.